more sessions this afternoon. We have Martin's and then one by Sheppy after this. And then we have the vendor fair / exhibit hall, and then the HackFest stuff will go on. So we're going to do the vendor fair and exhibit hall down here this year. So just remember that. We're going to set up lots of tables. You can bring out your twos and plug them in. We'll try to get extra power strips around. And then the HackFest, when we're ready, people can demo them up here probably in front of everybody. So that'll be around 3:15. But for now, Martin's going to do the new Pseudo-II emulator on iOS devices. Thanks, Martin.
By the way, this webpage is not my emulator. But this is kind of where I started. I was on a backpacking trip, long backpacking trip, and the only computer I had with me was my iPhone because I wanted it for, in case horrible things happen and I need to call out. And of course, when I'm out in the wilds, I get all kinds of great ideas for working on Supermon or Naked OS or whatever. And I couldn't implement any of these ideas, so I really wanted an Apple II emulator that runs on my iPhone. And this is before I really became aware of ActiveJS, the app. And so I thought, well, maybe there's a JavaScript one. So I went and I Googled for JavaScript Apple II, and this is what I found. By Gil Megadish. And, not Dumb Beatles. I want an Alien Typhoon.
Fun game.
Alien Typhoon.
Looks like one of Melissa's weaves.
I may have messed it up. Let's see. I'll try to run this thing. So it runs.
Walks.
Really, really slow.
But it runs.
But it runs. Cool. But it does run. You can. It's only monochrome that you can turn on all the scan modes. So it's pretty slow to the point of being unusable. And I looked at his code and I went, oh, wow! So you can do this in JavaScript. I wonder if I can do this in JavaScript. So that sounded like a good development challenge. Got to do something on your time. So so I set Supermon aside entirely, and I also set all of his code aside entirely and developed from scratch a new 6502 CO2 core and then an Apple II core around that in JavaScript. And now it's about 5,000 lines of JavaScript, and it implements a tiny fraction of what an Apple II can do. Save questions for later. I may answer them as I go along.
Oh yeah, the back chan is open for this session, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can post things into the back chan as well, and I'm watching it. To get it to run fast on an iPhone 3GS was an incredibly arduous challenge, and I was madly beating on it up to last Saturday. I spent all day Saturday fixing a bug, and I have it running at about 3/4 of a megahertz, so pretty close on the iPhone 3GS. On the iPhone 4, it's about 1.5 megahertz, and on the iPad 2, it's like 6 to 8 megahertz, which is plenty fast. So I think I'm done optimizing. And what else did I want to tell you? Oh yeah. So Ivan encouraged me. Ivan's been great all along. But I didn't know what to call this thing. I decided to call it P2E, for Pseudo-II, because I like that you can also pronounce it 2E, because it does almost nothing. It's like a little drop in the bucket. But it does something. So there are 4 disks that I know work right now. Some of the remaining thousands of Apple II disks will work. Most of them will not. So without further ado, I will give you the magic URL, and I'm sure you will not listen to the rest of my thing as you madly put them into your own. Now, I will not give you tech support at this point because this is totally a technology demo. If it doesn't work, that's too bad. This is not good. What happened? Demo-itis, apparently. Let's see if it works on Ivan's iPad.
Too many inputs are.
I saw the thing, I didn't test it. I didn't see how I could.
I'm a go-to.
Oh, unless there's a settings in the settings panel. Which could be it's upside down.
Awesome.
Okay, this is going to be.
Whoa.
You've done
Yeah, there's
excellent.
got to be something in the settings, don't you think?
Is the projector upside down?
The projector can invert.
I think we're
The
upside
game
down.
display out. Yeah, there it is.
The room is upside down.
Maybe we'll try that. No? You've got to be kidding me.
First of
You're
all,
gonna
hold
have
it
to
on
look
the
at
side.
upside down.
Dude, hold it on the side so that we get the horizontal.
Do it that way.
Well, at least it's right side up again.
Okay. Yeah. It was doing. We watched it.
Hit your
There's
switch.
there.
So
Yeah.
you had it.
Lock it.
There you go.
Where's your lock on this thing? There it is. And
Oh, did I turn it on lock? Oh yeah, good. All right.
all right.
And
Okay, maybe we're right side up.
Not proportionally accurate, but you kind of everything.
No.
I would have thought aspect adjust would have done it.
I would have thought so too.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'll stop screwing with that.
Good enough for grannies.
It may actually crash on here too, so this may not be much of a demo. I swear I had it working a few minutes ago.
Security.
It's working on mine.
Oh yeah,
There we go.
You can barely see it. So.
You can barely see it.
Yeah, bring that sucker in.
There you go. That's good.
Gosh. That would
You could do the magnifying display out again.
whatever. All right.
Okay, I'll be out in a second.
Let's see if it runs Supermon.
Same stuff. Some JavaScript, some shit.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so there's Supermon. I can type R to find out what's on the disk. Boy, that is terrible video. I really apologize.
No, that's realistic. That's what the screens look like.
I'm back there again.
It's going to be really hard to show you things, but okay. So I'm going to hit the eject button down at the bottom to spit out the Supermon disk, and then I'm going to hit insert. You can touch add disk here, and if you know the URL of a disk image somewhere on the net, you can add it. And this uses the HTML5's local storage thing, so the disks are actually stored on your iDevice. If you don't know the URL, you can go search the Asimov archive for it. So I'm going to go look for Alien Typhoon. It'll pop up another window with a Google search, and I think it's the second link on here. Here's all the action games. And here's Alien Typhoon. So I'm going to copy the URL, go back to P2E, paste it in, and add.
Awesome.
And now it's on my list of disks that I have access to.
Oh, wow.
I can stick it in the drive and reboot the machine. It takes a little bit to load. So
It's because it's downloading it from the site.
it's already downloaded, but it's
And
actually
in
running.
color.
And it's in color. I can't get it any bigger than this for some reason.
That's fine.
Um,
We get the point.
You get the point.
Yeah, we get the point.
And you can actually play it after a fashion. I'm going to
Audio?
use K for keyboard.
Yes, okay.
There is no audio
No
yet.
audio yet? Okay.
Oh. Well, what I really need is that JavaScript audio API that does not exist yet on iOS.
I'm not on my
Whoa.
Oh.
I don't know. I can fire. I can move.
Can you get
How do you move? What's the how do you implement that?
These buttons are the same as typing in the arrow keys.
Got it.
So, not great. Since we're on iPad 2, we might as well crank up the megahertz here a bit.
Oh.
It goes faster.
Oh.
Yeah.
It goes a lot faster.
Unplayable.
Also on that configuration screen, you can turn on stats so that you can see how fast it's going. This will show you approximately the megahertz it's hitting and how many frames per second it's doing.
What's the fastest it can go?
I've seen it go 70 megahertz on my Mac. By the way, this will run in Firefox on a Mac. It probably will run in a lot of other places that I don't know. I
Running what on the Mac?
only tested it a few places. Firefox on the Mac.
Oh, okay.
It'll run in Chrome on the Mac. There are a couple of glitches.
PCs?
And then
I have not tried a single PC. I have no idea.
What's a PC?
But it is all JavaScript, so it theoretically
But it's
should
all
run everywhere.
there's nothing standing in the way except for trying it out and working through the various quirks of every single browser and platform. I'm going to reset that. Oh yeah, it's a game. Can't reset it, I guess.
P2E, that movie.
Going with the theme of this year's KansasFest, I'll do one more demo. I'm going to look up the DOS 3.3 System Master.
Is emulating a standard 2E or an enhanced 2E?
It is emulating an enhanced 2E, but with only 64K currently.
Is this a project you plan to keep working on, or is it like, okay, it's as good as you need it to be kind of thing? And
That is pending a vote at the end of this session. Okay, so I found a URL for DOS 3.3.
So you implement the search by doing a site-specific Google search on a mirror of
Correct. It's a site-specific Google search. It was actually tricky getting disks in here. JavaScript is not allowed to access things on any other site. I can only download things from P2E.mobi. So there's actually a little Python script on the server that this connects to, and the Python script goes out and gets it from the archive and brings it over. One nice thing about that is the disks in the archive often are gzipped or zip compressed, and so the Python script undoes that on the way. So I'm going to stick the System Master in here and reboot. Loading in it. Now, I didn't even know this worked. Stavros tried this morning and discovered that Integer Basic actually works. I had not tested it. I'm going to turn it back down to 1 megahertz because it's just not right running DOS 3.3 at 8 megahertz.
Oh, I think very, very well.
Apple Vision, right?
Yeah. I think there's a hyphen, isn't there? I can't remember.
I think there's not. So it is switched to Integer Basic.
Just about see the prompt from the first row.
And here comes Apple Vision. All right. So it also boots ProDOS, by the way, which was a huge pain to get working, and I found probably 20 minutes along the way. ProDOS does some really weird stuff. I have showed you things that work, or kind of work, mostly work. Oh, by the way, so this ports disk drives, unlike Gill's emulator. And in particular, you can write on a disk, and it will stay written. So you can,
Because it stays on your device.
and it stays on your device. So you can write programs on here and say,
Where is that in fact stored? Where is the image stored? Somewhere in browser cache world?
I can't decide if it's in the cache or in the cookies.
One
One or
if
the
you're
other.
using local storage, it's in cache.
It's in the cache.
It's actually a special cache for local storage per
Okay,
site.
so I think if you clear your cache, they will all disappear.
And
One of the first features I would like to add is the way to get disks back off of here to somewhere else.
You should look at the new file API. It's been added to the DOM fairly recently. I know that Mozilla supports it, WebKit supports it, although I'm not sure how much on iOS, but if they don't now, they will soon, which lets you manipulate files on the local device, create and write to them and read from them, with user permission, and that would be something that would be awesome for working.
That would be fantastic. I'd love to have a disk box that is more persistent. But this is still pretty persistent. You have to go out of your way to get rid of your disks.
So you would certainly lose them in the case of if you upgrade the OS on your device. Because I'm assuming the browser cache does not get backed up along with the stuff that iTunes backs up.
Probably not. So I've showed you things that work. What doesn't work? Sound is totally missing. Low-res graphics is missing.
Really?
128K is missing. Page flipping graphics.
So is it using a 2E ROM?
It is using a 2E ROM, which was also a pain in the butt to get running. Dual disk drives and hard disks are missing, etc., etc., etc. The list is very long of things this does not do. That ActiveJS, Virtual2, Sweet 16 all do. And in the process of writing this, I discovered it is a really enormous project, making an emulator. I think of these as simple machines, but when you actually try to make one, they're not so simple. So I'm going to present to you a choice, and then I'm going to give you a few minutes while I talk about other things to think about that choice. So this project took me away from Supermon, and I have lots of ideas of stuff I want to do to Supermon. Like, I want to make a ProDOS shell for it. I want to make a basic shell for it.
Some people here might not know what Supermon is.
Supermon is a monitor extension that allows you to define labels and do all kinds of fun things in assembly language that normally would require an assembler. And it comes with Naked DOS, which is a fast, tiny DOS. But it does not work with BASIC. And you can't save your files off into ProDOS, for instance, very easily. So it'd be kind of cool to have a shell there. I'd also like to make a macro facility or function calling facility or something for. So this project took me away from that. And the question I have for you is, come KansasFest next year, what would you rather see? Improvements to Supermon or P2E that's farther along, probably a lot farther along? While you think about that, I will show you the About screen, which is going to be totally unreadable, so I'll read it to you. Like my other software, this is licensed with a CC0 license, which is much more permissive than Creative Commons, share-alike, or anything like that. You can use this software for any purpose, including making money from it. It says, to the extent possible under law, Martin Haye has waived all copyright and related or neighboring rights to P2E, Pseudo-II Emulator. This code is actually on Bitbucket. You can access the Mercurial repository. You could fork it yourself. You could start contributing code back to me. Status. This is a technology demo, and as such, is way, way unfinished. It works kind of okay with a few disks, such as Supermon, DOS 3.3, ProDOS, and Alien Typhoon. You are very likely to encounter lots of bugs. If you want to report a bug, sorry, it's too early for that. There are too many already. On the other hand, if you want to help with development, that's fantastic. There are tons of missing pieces, blah, blah, blah. currently I need at least quality assurance, somebody with experience in CSS, HTML, and just web graphics in general. Because as you can tell, it's not very pretty right now. And sound. So email me, blah, blah, blah. So I wrote that before I had decided to ask the question, because a couple people have stopped me at KFest and said, hey, when are you going to come back to Superman?
Copyright any of this, or could someone copyright it out from under you?
Somebody could not copyright it out from under me because it is still an artistic work, and I wrote it. They would be fraudulently claiming that they wrote it. That said, they could take it and use it in a product and not credit me at all, and they could totally hide that it came from me, and that's fine. I don't care.
Okay.
So now I will put it to the vote. And if you don't care, don't vote. How many people would like me to work on Superman and Megados and improving those?
1, 2, 4,
6.
I got an 8.
That's what I'm trying to
You
get.
got 8? Oh, I'm not discounting. Okay, 8. Okay. And how many would like to see me push P2E forward with help from the community, which I will need?
That too. Where's the problem?
What do you get, Ken? I get 7.
I didn't count. I screwed
Do
up
that
so
again.
bad.
Didn't
I
count
think you should both
again.
again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It's
Well,
high.
well, I have a question, Mark.
I was hoping that was going to be a landslide, but it is not at all a landslide.
In which direction were you expecting? The emulator?
I did actually think people were going to move to the emulator.
Well, my question for you is, which project do you enjoy working on more?
Superman, absolutely.
That's why I voted for Superman.
That's,
Well, in that case, I vote for Superman.
that's actually why we voted for Superman.
No,
We
it's a
really did,
tie.
because you're the guy who can do it.
Martin, what's your day job?
My day job is I put books online for the California Digital Library. I'm essentially a librarian programmer.
Okay. So, how long did this take you to get to this point?
I don't know, several months of tinkering at night.
At night. So,
With a million other projects.
if you had been doing it full time, this is a month? Or do you think
Yeah,
it's 2 weeks?
yeah, it
1 month.
would be a month
Okay.
at most.
Because, I mean, I need to talk to them, but I can see about them funding you.
Really?
Well, that's the thing. If that, this is what he wants, is he wants it that you have a piece of software on there, and it goes to beep, and you get to try it, to play it, to experience what that software was. And the problem is the best thing right now is ActiveJS, but it requires a plugin. So it's cheating. But as far as that kind of thing is going on, it could be an option where it says, do you want to play it in ActiveJS, or do you just want to play it in JavaScript? And that's the kind of thing they'll fund, because it's worth it to them. And then put you in contact with the right people who can fill in the back ends of what you want and so on. I'm saying there's an option there that I can discuss with them.
Okay. I think that's pretty attractive.
But it sounds like the group wants Superman very badly, so you should work on that as well.
We do.
So really, you should do everything, dude.
Sorry.
You don't need sleep, do you?
Yes, we
Well,
do.
I think
And if
then what I'll...
are you in San Francisco area?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can take you to the archive. I'll be there in August.
Okay. All right, good.
You've heard of slavery.
So I think what I'll do then is I'll kind of pay attention to the vote, and I'll just work on both of them
As
in random order.
There you go. That's a nice way.
Okay. So that's my presentation. There's only one question on the back channel, and it's not a question.
Best kind.
Sorry. Anyone else have questions I can answer?
Is this your first emulator?
This is my first emulator.
Very good.
Did you write the
Very
whole
nice.
thing from scratch yourself, or did you start with existing code or pseudocode from anywhere? Or?
I wrote it from scratch with the exception of, like, when you tap the arrows and it switches to a different page. I cribbed some code from other sites on the net that
Nice.
pretend to be iPhone apps. Everything else is absolutely from scratch.
Just a matter of definition, since I've never done this, I'm not knowledgeable. But would you call In effect, what you did is you programmed from a set of specs. All you had to figure out the specs from the product and the way it behaved, right? So basically, you had a spec that you programmed to produce a product that did something that another product does, or maybe you improved it or changed it a little.
I tried to not improve it.
What?
I tried to not improve the
Oh,
application.
okay.
To the extent possible, I'd like it to be exactly that.
Now,
Emulator otherwise.
Would you call that reverse engineering, or do you have a different definition for reverse engineering?
Yeah, it's a form of reverse engineering, I guess. Yeah. Other questions?
Earlier you mentioned that there were various surprises, problems, weird things that ProDOS did during the implementation of the emulator. What were some of those you found most interesting or most surprising?
The way it checks for auxiliary memory being present is interesting. And because I don't have auxiliary memory, basically what it does is it switches to aux memory, writes some stuff, and then sees if it can read it back. Well, I wasn't emulating that at all. So I was just ignoring the aux memory switch, and it would switch over there and it would write some bytes, and I would write them to main memory and corrupt some part of ProDOS. So, whoops. The other really bizarre thing it does is way up in the ROM, it wants to call a monitor routine, and so it just happens to be at the right place, and it flips a bank switching register, and then assumes that the bank will switch, and that ROM routine will start executing. And I didn't tell you, so part of the technology that allows this to run so quickly is I actually spot code chunks all over the place, especially frequently executed ones, and I compile them into JavaScript, which, because of the work of the Firefox people and others, gets compiled down again into native machine code, which then runs really fast. But bank switching is a nightmare for that sort of thing, because you're just accessing this register that happens to radically change the whole environment. So anyway, so that was one of my interesting bugs to debug.
Similar question. If you're going to rewrite something with your own code, and maybe in a different language, can you actually look at the code of the existing program, or do you have to avoid that?
I think you have to avoid it if you're really concerned that the other person might sue you, or. But Gil didn't put any copyright notices on his code at all, so I felt perfectly free to use his code to get ideas for my code.
Did you contact?
That said, I did not copy his code because he didn't put a copyright at all on it, and I wanted my stuff to be CC0,
right,
so that anybody can use it. So I did not want to copy his code at all. Other questions? Okay, we're done.